Every week, it's my goal to share financial information that helps you both in your life and financial vineyard. We hope it takes you from your roots to the journey of your vines and the influences in the air that have helped craft your delicious life. Like wine, life and finances have different palates that should be celebrated and not judged. Welcome to this edition of Wine and Dime with Amy Irvine. Wine and Dime is sponsored by Rooted Planning Group, a fee-only financial planning firm located in, well, just about everywhere. Anyway, we hope that you enjoy this particular podcast around year-end tax planning. And before we get into that, we'd love to introduce a white wine that we came across. It's actually a blend between a Chardonnay and a Riesling. Very interesting wine. And you've heard the winery before. It's called Bully Hill. But I'm not much of a white wine drinker, but this one takes the edge off Riesling and blends the wine in a very unique way. So if you're interested in some fall harvest-like wines, give this one a try. It's called Fusion. It's from Bully Hill. You can definitely get this online if you want. We hope you enjoy it while listening to this very stimulating idea of tax year-end planning. Hey everyone, this is Amy Irvine, founder of Rooted Planning Group. We want to help you brush up on your year-end money dance steps, as we call it, and we're hoping that you enjoy this edition as we talk through some of the tax year-end and money dance steps. Maybe we're going to tango with the tax saving idea or do a quick step to avoid adding holiday debt. Whatever it is, we need to quickly get busy because the end of the year and the end of the tax season savings opportunities are going to be over before we know it. So let's not miss out on that opportunity. Besides, who doesn't like saving on taxes and accomplishing their goals? So we're going to start by gathering a bunch of information you will need. Now, if you're listening to this while you're in your car or working out, you can always come back to this, and this video will be available through YouTube as well in the future. So start by gathering the information you will need. If you've been keeping up with filing, it'll be easy, right? But if not, then you can certainly take some time to scan the stuff or put it in your secure folders, however you organize things, so that you can help to organize and identify some of the things for those tax saving opportunities. We have a side-by-side tax form that we'll make available to you so that you can fill in last year's information with potentially information from this year so you can do these estimates. So let's start by taking last year's form and enter all of the information into that spreadsheet. You will then have the information you need for this year, because then you can just go in and modify any changes that have happened. The form asks you to review line by line last year's 1040, asks you to check a box if there's substantially any changes, and then you can go back and say, okay, what were those changes and how is that going to potentially impact my tax return? Let's also talk a minute about what substantial means. A few dollars difference isn't that substantial. If it's a number like 500,000, well, that's a big deal. 100 probably isn't substantial. A 10% variance may be a good rule of thumb. If in doubt, just enter the information and either talk to us or your CPA or tax preparer and ask them if they feel it's substantial. Note the new tax form, may be slightly different. We're going off from the drafts that are out there for 2022 as well as the prior 2021. And when I say 2022 and 2021, I'm actually meaning for 2020 and 2021 tax years, but released in 2020 and 2021. So if you're like many and you do your own taxes, software like TaxAct will let you start your taxes and project them. For those of you who want a professional, then you may want to, just touch base with them about any ideas or suggestions that they have and see if they'll run a projection for you even. They may run it for a very small price, or certainly if you're working with us, we definitely run projections this time of year. When you stop for just a moment and explain or understand the tax form itself, I think it makes you better at preparing for your tax return in the future years, because, we depend on the data that you provide to us. So it's really important that it's good and full and accurate information. Once we do the projection, of the tax table, it's pretty easy to calculate the tax form. Now, we've provided links to all of that information to make it easier for you. It's part of the problem is figuring out where to get the information. Once done, you'll know better where you're under or over or right on track for your taxes. And together, certainly we can identify to see if you're going to be way over, maybe change your withholding for the next few months and put that money towards other goals that you might have or other spending goals that you might have. For such complicated strategies, there may need to be additional projections, and that's where your tax preparer should get involved. Definitely when we work with corporate executives, and they have RSUs or restricted stock, or they have stock options, then it gets a little bit more complicated, and we may need to really involve some professionals. But it's still something that you could get a high-level projection on. We also mentioned changing withholdings even at this late date to get you set up right for next year. Even if you reduce withholdings for 2 months and then redirect those funds into your 401k, that would reduce your taxes even more. Large refunds mean that you're giving the government a tax-free loan. A small refund, not a large one. If you owe taxes, they'll charge you interest if you owe over a certain amount because you were supposed to give them that money. So, why not let you use your funds, and why let them actually have your funds for 4 extra months earning zero interest when you could be earning interest on your goals during that same period of time? Now, we have provided in the show notes a sample of the 2021 tax form. It is in draft mode. You'll notice that it's draft. It's posted draft, so you can't use it. But we've posted it in there so that you can see what the form looks like for 2021's tax return and doing them in 2022. And as I mentioned earlier, it just kind of gives you some idea of how you should prepare for the next year. We've also put together a tax savings checklist. Now, this is the perfect time to be thinking about that, right? If you're going to go do your own tax projections, you will want to be thinking about what are some of the ways that you can save money. So checking some boxes and then kind of going back and getting back on course. And of course, making sure that you, are taking advantage of all of the indicators. So this tax saving checklist, you'll have things like, are you projected to have a refund this year? And if you are, could you put more in your 401k? Could that then help your taxes even more? Are you close to the age where you should be considering Social Security? Are you in a lower tax rate this year than normal? Have you made IRA contributions? What if you do make IRA contributions? So there's a bunch of different things, and that's just the retirement section. There's lots of other areas. So, for example, if you are in a lower tax bracket this year than last year and expect to be increasing again next year, there are some things that you want to take advantage of this year. Maybe you want to recognize some capital gains because maybe this year they'd be at a 0% capital gains tax rate, where in the future they would be in a higher capital gains tax rate. Or maybe you want to do a Roth IRA instead of a traditional IRA this year. Or maybe you want to convert a portion of your IRA. Another example may be that you're helping family members, or maybe family members are helping you out, or you're helping family members out who could be in a lower tax bracket than you. Maybe you need to be shifting, instead of giving them cash, maybe you need to be shifting securities to them, and then they could sell in a lower tax bracket and take advantage of those kinds of low tax rate gains. If you do that kind of thing, they might be again, in a 0% capital gains tax rate, and it might be beneficial to them. And so they wouldn't have to pay any tax on it where you would. So that's another idea. We certainly can't go through every strategy, but go take a look in the show notes of that tax savings checklist, and you might come up with some ideas of your own. There are so many strategies that can be applied to taxes that you could save money. And we don't know which ones are going to apply necessarily unless we walk through that checklist with you, or you walk through that checklist. Even if you aren't going to project your taxes this year, it makes sense to review this checklist to see if there's any indicators that might spark an idea. We also have in the show notes a checklist, or I guess you want a chart, I should say, that shows tax advantages you can accomplish based on specific goals with the advantages and disadvantages of those particular goals that you have and tax saving strategies, tax benefits, and risks that go along with it. Maybe you want to fund your child's education or grandchild's future or build your emergency fund. It could also be building your surprise bucket and your medical expense in retirement, or reduce the drag on your non-qualified investments. Find the goal and then see if there's a category to take advantage of from that tax strategy side. Certainly, we want to give you these resources to make sure that you're getting through. And it's, a tax indicator of personal goals as well. So, take the time to walk through the particular items that we've put in the show notes for you so that you're not subsidizing the government on a 0% loan. You're taking advantage of those particular options yourself. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We'd love to hear from you on any topic you'd like to hear about. Please feel free to share this with your friends, like us on iTunes, visit us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, visit us at www.rootedpg.com.
And that will about do it for today's episode of Wine and Dime. You can contact Amy through the website, www.rootedpg.com, or amy@rootedpg.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at rootedpg for the latest news. And if you have any questions, comments, or topics you would like to hear about, feel free to let us know. And don't forget to rate and subscribe the show wherever you get your podcasts. And again, thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next time.